Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. In this series, titled ZK's Words of Wisdom, Zach Kenney of ZK Painting will be discussing how he has overcome mistakes, best practices for serving high-end clientele, and social media marketing greatness. In episode 1, Zach discussed the many failures and subsequent learnings and adaptations he has had to make on his journey to over $3 million per year in revenue. In episode 2, Zach dove into how to best serve high-end customers given their somewhat unique needs and expectations. In this episode, episode 3, and the final episode, Zach will cover his keys to social media marketing greatness and how your painting company can begin implementing these tactics today. If you want to ask Zach questions related to anything in this podcast series, you can do so in our exclusive Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast on Facebook. Just search for Painter Marketing Mastermind Podcast Forum on Facebook and request to join the group. Or type in the URL facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. Again, that URL is facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. There you can ask Zach questions directly by tagging him with your question so you can see how anything discussed here applies to your particular painting company. What's going on, Zach?
Hey, Brandon, how are you?
Doing well, brother. Episode 3, the final of the trifecta. Excited for this one. Social media marketing. I think it's something you like a little bit passionate about it.
You could say that.
Talk to us about social media marketing greatness, however you want to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty passionate about it because it's changed my life and my business. And I was very anti social media before. So I think anytime you sort of have had a history of being on one side, having your mind changed, and then having your mind changed pay off the way that it has. I'm a passionate person generally, but it's pretty easy to be passionate about it because of just the results are there, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think I started social media. My ex was like, you should start social media, an Instagram account. And I was like, why would I want to do that? I started it and it was a game. I played the game. I tried to gain followers, likes, whatever. Made a million mistakes. I had no work and no following. So you could really like try a lot of stuff. And so I was able to really figure out through trial and error what worked and what didn't. And I think at this point now I have a pretty sound understanding of social media marketing organically. We don't pay for ads, so I don't really. That's a whole world. There's experts in that, and it's a great way of very predictably generating leads from what I understand. But it's not my world. It's people are far better than that than me. And so my success has come from the organic, slow, build, and it's been an exponential growth curve that way. It's been, the cost was my time. And, I think I've taught a number of people. I've built a number of businesses, social medias. I consult with people now on building their plan. I think that it's something that can be done by anybody. Like all business and in all marketing, start by being, especially, I think social media, organic social media is, I mean, you have to be the real deal to start. Like first things first, you have to have a great product. You don't have to have a great product, but man, does it help if you have a great product? And I think I was very much of a marketing is for bad products so that they could sell. And businesses that did marketing, especially in the painting world, were businesses that didn't do great paint jobs, but ran a business, understood marketing, and marketing was a hack to get crappy paint jobs sold. That's what I thought.
Because if you were just really good, you would just always have a bunch of work.
Exactly. I was this idealist in business that like, if you build it, they will come. If you have an amazing thing, the world is a bunch of rational computers out there, and everyone's just going to obviously do what's rational, right?
Yeah.
No.
This is the best value. We will do
Yeah.
this.
Duh. This guy's the best for all these reasons.
Yeah.
And like, the world would find me. No, I'm sorry. But if you're an amazing painter and you have an amazing business, not doing marketing is not the answer. I think a lot of guys, I was one of them, was very proud to say I was only referrals. Man, I'm referral only.
Painters love to say that, man.
Man, that is some
I've been in business 20 years. You know how many cents I spent? I'm already 0 cents.
And I was that guy. That's why I can make fun of that guy, because I was that guy. And if you are that guy, message me. I will challenge you all day long that it's not the way to go. And I have enough data to win that argument in a very sound way. And please, I would love to be challenged. But we talked about this in past episodes. I'm very passionate about a very simple microeconomics equation, the supply and demand curve. And you can look it up, and the supply and demand curve are two things, and where they match, where they cross, that's your price. But when the demand side increases, the price goes up, right? The same supply, the demand curve goes up, the price goes up, right? So we want to always be increasing demand. I don't care. Anyone who says I'm so busy or I'm too busy doesn't understand business and doesn't understand supply and demand, and they're not raising their prices. There's a simple way we can reduce our the overwhelm in our business. It's raise your prices. You get some more no's. Get comfortable with no's. I had to get comfortable with no. And I think that that's really, when you're a painter, like I was for so many years, I didn't study business until the last 5 years. And it's like, when you study business, it's like, yeah, no business in the world was sad that they had too many people who wanted to buy from them, because you shouldn't raise your prices. But I'll talk to painters who were like, oh my God, I could never do social media. I don't want to do social media marketing. I'm so busy as it is. Well, the basic supply and demand curve, it's a law. This is not something that's like, I'm making this up. And if the demand increases and supply stays the same, you can raise your prices and and it all works out, right? So I think that the big thing is, like, you want to raise your prices 20%. Well, you're going to need a greater demand, or you may be so low that you raise 20% and nothing changes. Well, then you were just leaving 20% on the table. But the game of business is to charge the most amount of money that people will pay and smile, in my opinion, right? We're trying to get people, we're trying to make a great living. We're not nonprofits. We're not charities. There are people who need our charity, right? They are not people who can afford paint jobs. If you can afford to pay someone to paint your house, you're not someone that needs my charity. And so my job is to charge the most amount that you will smile and tell your friends that guy was amazing and I want to hire him again. Right. And I think the demand side of the equation is something that Rick Holtz was on my podcast years ago. And he said, my dad's marketing strategy was praying for the phone to ring. And I love that. Like, I think that was my strategy forever. I was just like, I hope the phone rings. Like, that was marketing. Prayer. And you know, believe whatever you want to believe in prayer. Like, I will tell you right now, there are a lot better marketing strategies than prayer. So yeah, I think social media marketing is one of those things that I think I hear a lot of people give me pushback on, especially established businesses. The businesses that would do the best with organic social media are the ones who aren't doing it. It's wild. All the guys who've gotten good at organic social media are all the guys who were young, hungry, and desperate, and ran and a lot of us ran pretty poor businesses. But we understood that we didn't have a lot of resources, but we had a phone, and we figured out social media, and then we increased demand. Now, if you are the guy who has a successful painting business, who has systems and processes and all of these things in place, these are the people who need to be using organic social media more than anybody, because they can actually capture and harness all of the amazing benefits that come from organic social media. We are the hardest part. So I've embraced the term. I'm now a social media influencer. I love it. I will smile and say I'm an influencer because I have no more head trash around it. For a very long time, I think influencer has a connotation, whatever. But it's like marketing. If you're marketing a great product, then marketing's awesome. And if you're influencing in a way where I stand behind my message is and what I'm saying and what I'm doing, and I have values around what I do, I don't feel bad about calling myself an influencer now. I've embraced it. That took many years. But I think most influencers in non-painting space, their hardest part of their job is creating content, right? They have to go come up with ideas and shoot videos. Like that is the hard part, is like coming up with the ideas and shooting the videos. Every painting business is creating content 24/7. Every day you go to work, your business is creating content. Just the question is, are you putting a camera on it or not? And so what I figured out how to do was just put a camera on what I was doing. That simply what I'm doing is a documentary of my company. And I think great social media is authentic, right? All the great big influencers, the large accounts, invariably they're authentic. They're authentically them, whatever they are, whether it's authentically fake. Okay. But that's them. Their brand is this, and they're doing it all day long. And authenticity wins. Humans like real. And social media is a world where a lot of people go on there and they fake it. They put on like a fake, here's the best of what's happening. Here's like, we can all read, like, this isn't real. This doesn't feel right. And so I think a lot of my success has come from just making a documentary of my company. Here's what we're doing. And honestly, the big takeaway, like really what great social media does, and great marketing, but great social media marketing is here's what it's like to hire me before you hire me, right? 70%, I'm making this, somebody in some place said that 70% of the sales process is done before the client ever picks up the phone, right? And that's really what it is I'm giving people the ability to lay at home in bed and research and learn passively without any interaction with me or my company. What is it like to hire us before you hire us? And if you're the real deal, then that's a great thing, right? I want people to know what it's like to work with my company, right? And I think one of the big problems that people have when I tell them this, and here's the strategy and here's what I want you to do, is like getting out of the expert's head. Like when you are in your business and you've built your business and you've run your business, like you just take a lot of things for granted. You don't see it from a layperson's perspective. And the best social media is we're talking to the layperson, the person who doesn't know what it's like to hire a paint contractor or ZK Painting. And so I need to create content, and it's still a struggle. I'm not perfect at it, but I work to create content that speaks to my ideal client and tells them what it's like to hire me before they hire me. I think really that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. I love it. And it's this concept of edutainment, people getting educated but entertained at the same time, is so big now. So you're essentially meeting the market where it already is, how it likes to be educated, how it likes to be essentially sold to. It's a super passive sales process. They're getting to know you and come to you on, when they're ready, is genius.
Yeah. I stumbled upon it out of pure desperation. To be honest, I didn't have anything else to do. So I guess I'll create content.
So the 70% thing is interesting. 70% of the sales done before the sale. There's so many concepts that are similar to that. That people need to know, like, and trust you before they really want to do business with you. That people need to be touched between 5 and 9 times before they're comfortable making a major buying decision. And all these things are sort of phrased differently, but it's all tied into the fact that they need to trust you really before they're willing to make a high ticket purchase from you. And by you getting out in front of them, that trust is already established before you even start whatever your official sales process may be, which we've talked on this podcast plenty about sales processes, but you're starting it on the front end. You're also casting a wider net because it's also a lead funnel. So you have this top of top of your funnel, you know, which marketing terms just means all the people who are basically engaging or looking at your company now, and you're educating them, they're gaining trust in you. And now, when those people do come into the funnel or into the sales process a little bit deeper, they're already more pre-positioned to buy because of the way that they came in, because they didn't come in through a paid ad, through a Google ad, through such sponsored. Oh, well, this is a painting company, I'm looking for a painter, let's see what they got. They already know you, and they're like, man, this guy seems pretty cool, this company seems pretty cool. So they're pre-positioned. Your close rate's probably going to be better. Like you said, the supply demand curve, the wanting to charge the highest price that you can while they're still happy and they still want to recommend you, you're probably going to be able to charge higher prices for people who come in that way. Again, the lead quality and everything, and the lead location from which the lead comes all affects how much you can charge, how much profit you can make per customer. There's a lot that goes into what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So let's talk about, you know, backing up, you weren't doing it, and then you started doing it because you were desperate. You had a phone, didn't have that much money, needed to consistently generate work. How did you start doing it? How'd you learn?
So Gary V was my initial influence. He wrote a couple books. It's been years since I listened to him or read his books, but they were good. I don't remember what they're called, but he's got a couple books. He has some foundational stuff of like give, jab, right hook, I think he calls it. I just jab all the time. I just give. We don't have a call to action anywhere on any social media platform I've ever, like, that doesn't work. I just don't think that's not the system, right? People, if you add value to their life over time, will want to give back, right? People know how to call you. Let's not, I mean, put your contact info on your Instagram, but like, I don't need to say, here's my phone number, call me for a free estimate. Like, if you want an estimate, you know exactly how to do it. And me saying, call me for a free estimate is not going to induce any new people.
Out of the video, they're just so confused. Like, what do I do? I would have used them.
I can't imagine what to do. Are you kidding me? I get bombarded with people all the time. They won't leave me alone. So I think the first thing is like, social media is, I was lucky enough to go to Germany with some big influencers. And there's not an influencer that I've met yet, especially these big guys. They don't appear to, but they take this stuff very seriously. They take you don't become a big influencer without, sorry, I just got a call. You don't grow a large following without like seriously knowing what you're doing. It's not a fluke. Anytime you see someone with a large following that's creating their own content, it's not a fluke. Sorry, I lost you. There you go. Yeah, I just lost.
So you were in Germany with these guys.
Oh yeah, and these guys, and I'm learning from them about how seriously they take what they're doing and how much they're going to iterate and try things and get feedback, and then try things and get feedback. And the understanding of a lot of there's kind of two different lenses I see social media from, and Gary V used to talk about this a lot. And it's like all of your content needs to either educate or entertain. And if it can do both, then that's the holy grail, right? I think the first thing when we look at, like, when I consult with people, it's like the first thing is, what are we trying to do with social media right now? What is the metric we're going to track? Is it revenue? Is it followers? Is it new employees? There's a guy, this company is called Dirt something. Oh man. There's a dude, Aaron Witt. Oh, it's called Witt Marketing or something. Aaron Witt on social media, on Instagram. This guy is a genius. Young kid, loves the heavy machinery world, and he has built a massive marketing company for heavy machinery, like companies that move dirt, that pave roads, huge companies that have never spent $1 on marketing in the history of their companies, because they're all government contracts, lowest bid. There's no reason to market. right? He built a massive marketing company and is growing it crazy, doing marketing for these companies. And their metric is, we need employees. We are companies that are struggling to find people. And they've hired marketing companies and are doing social media marketing to attract employees, right? So that's probably more like the commercial world. The commercial world, if you're a commercial painter, you probably care more about using social media to bring in employees. But the first thing is like, what is the metric we're going to track that we care about at the most important? And I think from there, the strategy on social media is going to change. So I recently was trying to grow my following. I found out as an influencer, I can sell my influence. My following is valuable. Okay. I was like, well, I'm going to grow. I want to get to 100,000 followers. All right. Well, there's a way to grow a following. And it is not the same as growing revenue, right? When I first started, I was trying to grow a following, and I figured out kind of how to do that. I got to 20 something thousand followers. I remember somebody was like, why are you doing this? What's the point? And I was like, yeah, that's actually, I had to think about it. I was like, that's a really good point. Like, why do I care about having a lot of followers? And so I changed what I was trying to do. I was like, I'm going to track revenue now. Well, the types of content I was going to create that were going to drive revenue can be very different than the types of content that's going to drive followers, right? I mean, I during COVID, I started a TikTok, and in under 6 months, I had 550,000 followers on TikTok. I didn't make $1 off of it, and I stopped. And I think I checked the other day, I'm down to 520,000. I've just been losing followers for like 2 years straight. And it's like, why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And that's going to drive the strategy. So I recently changed my strategy. I grew a following. We grew about 25, 30,000 followers in like a month and a half. I got to 100,000. And then I was at this big gala meeting all these big time fancy designers. And I was like, wait a second, like this new designer I just met is going to go look at my social media, and they're going to go see content that I've been putting out that was to drive follower count. And it's not necessarily the same content I want this designer to see to educate them about what it's like to do business with me. And so I've changed my content now going forward for a while. I'm changing my content to speak to drive revenue. And it's going to be not a lot of views. A lot of this stuff doesn't get a lot of views. And I mean, if you want to grow a following, you create reels for 5 weeks straight. You put a reel out every single day, right? The algorithm rewards 4 to 6 weeks straight, unclear exactly what, but about 4 to 6 weeks straight of constant posting every day will get you to the other side of the algorithm, and you will get preferential treatment. And that's the only preferential treatment there is on social media algorithm. It pretty much, from what I learned from some people who really know what they're talking about. But you will see, if you create content, especially reels last for extended periods of time. If you, again, all the content has to be good. You can't just put out crappy content, but still, it's more lean toward volume over quality to grow a following. But to grow revenue, I care way more about quality over volume, right? Who cares? Mrs. Jones, who comes to my page to find out what I'm about, she doesn't care. She's not looking at the dates that I posted. She just sees the last 10 posts. So what do the last 10 posts say, right? So when I talk to people who are starting social media and are looking to grow revenue, we're going to say, like, don't even do video, right? Video is going to be that's like 2 levels up. Too much time, too much energy, too much stress. Get out of it. We're just going to take some photos, but we're going to write really nice captions, and we're going to speak to our ideal client. And we're going to educate them so that all we care about is our client today. The early Instagram stuff, all your revenue is going to come from strong referrals, right? So Miss Jones hired you from some other marketing source, who knows what. She loved you. You were like, oh, follow us on Instagram. You can follow along with your project. Miss Jones is at a dinner party. She's telling Miss Johnson about how awesome it was. And in the past, maybe you get a business card and then they forget about you next week. But she goes, hey, let me show you the Instagram post of my project. Miss Johnson's like, oh, this is cool. They have a good bio. Everything's I don't want to forget about this. I'm having a dinner party. I'm having fun. I follow. Next week, she completely forgets about you. But then your post comes up. And then your post comes up and your post comes up. And 3, 4, like what you said, 5 to 9 touch points. 2, 3, 4, 3 months later, you get a call from Mrs. Johnson. And when you get this call from Mrs. Johnson, this is not, yeah, I'm looking for painters. It's, hi, Zach, I've been following you. I hope you don't mind. I've been stalking you. I really love your work. Would you mind coming over and looking at my project? That's really what we care about in early stage revenue-based social media, organic social media marketing. It's a really great portfolio and insight into what it's like to hire you. So we're not just going to take pretty pictures and say, another one in the books. I don't like what? No, I'm going to tell the client, I'm going to do a description of like, client came to me. They really didn't like their brick. We brought them a few different options. We have a couple different coating systems. We landed on this. We used this product and it turned out like this and it's going to last this long. All right. Tell me what happened in this picture. And the hard part is as an expert in what we do, how do we tell me what happened in this picture that speaks to a layperson? What do they care about? Well, think about your sales process. What are the questions clients ask you? Answer those questions through your posts, right? They're boring. Answering the questions in the sales process through posts is not going to get you very much likes and follows. It's going to be very boring content. You're going to get very low likes. If you look at some of my posts, they could perform viral if you take out the viral content, but with the viral content, it's hundreds and thousands of times worse performance. If you take away the viral stuff, there's still an order of magnitude, at least, difference between some of my content. And that's because A, it's talking to the masses. The other stuff's talking to my ideal client. So I think we need to understand when you're creating content, who are you creating it for and why?
How important is it? So, people have this idea, this concern that they need to have a certain minimum number of followers of their page, their profile. How important is it to have a certain minimum before, I guess, you get started with this approach that you're talking about right now? Or is that just completely irrelevant?
I think it's irrelevant. I coached up a couple of 50-year-old dudes, started their Instagram account. They were at 1,500 followers and sold over $500,000 from Instagram. I think what's important is there's no 10 posts. The first 10 posts, there's no 10 posts that we could put out that are going to change. They're going to do much, right? You can't, just because you do 10 amazing posts to start your feed, the whole thing of what we're trying to do here is build trust. And 10 posts is not going to build trust. And on Instagram today, if you see an account with 10 posts, you're like, where is this, a Russian bot? What's going on? Right. So what I would say to people who are starting is you've got to build a framework. That's what I work with people is build a framework. Here's what we're going to post, how we're going to post, who we're going to post it to. Let's really hammer this out. And then you're going to start posting and you're going to suck, but no one's really paying attention. It's fine. And you're going to get 30, 40 posts, let's say, enough where you scroll a couple times and you don't get to the bottom. I don't know what that number is. You're going to have a great bio. That's very bullet points. Here's what makes this company awesome. And it's okay, now we have something. We have a base now where if Miss Jones sends this to Miss Johnson, she's going to go through this and be like, yeah, this is a company, right? There's no red flag.
It's a company. It's real. They're real people.
Real. And yeah. I think you can't underestimate consistency over time in all of life. Let's just say that's just a thing that as I've grown older, consistency over time is the secret to life. That is it. There's no great success ever happened from some one big, massive thing, right? It's consistent effort over time. And that's what social media pays off on. So I think the thing that people struggle with is what I try to help people with. And at this point, if you don't have it, shame on you, but it's faith. This stuff will work. You have to have faith. This is going to work and it's going to be worth your effort. You can't, way too many people try to hire this out. if you're not paying 10K a month plus, you don't hire this out. It's not something that you can get results paying someone $2,000 a month to do. You'll get results in that you paid someone to make posts for you, but the results of sales won't be there, right? So it's consistency over time, having faith that this is actually going to pay off, and then putting in real effort and iterating and getting better. And
So you,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say you consult people for this.
Yes, this is,
Like,
I almost,
is this a business that you have?
yes, I almost started my second social media marketing company. I was a partner in one and sold my stake years ago. And I was going to start a second one where we're going to be a full service, do all the work for you. But again, 10K minimum would be what we would have to charge. I'd have to hire a bunch of videographers, editors, all these things. It was like, I don't have the bandwidth for any of these things, but I can consult and give a 50,000 foot view of like, let me build a plan for you on how to do this yourself. And that is much more cost effective and it brings much better results.
How can people, or how should people contact you if they're interested?
You can send me a DM. You can send me a message in the group. You know, and DMs on Instagram are the best.
Yep.
And I think there's a thing that like, it's hard to see this. This is such a new and novel way of marketing that like most books you read about marketing are going to fly in the face of everything that's brought me success, right? The calls to action, the whatever this, like, it's different. This is how do we make a documentary of ourselves and say the right things in the right ways that gets the certain results that we're after? And a big part of what I have learned to do and what I consult and coach people on is like, how do we make this effective with the least amount of effort possible? Like, I have to run a painting business. I don't have time to do full-time social media for my company. So how do I, with the least amount of effort, get the best results? And the number one thing is like, you have to have a framework. If you are just shooting off the cuff today, what are you going to post? It's so mentally draining. It can be demoralizing, honestly. It can overwhelm people. People start, they don't get results, and then they stop. And they're like, oh, I just want to hire somebody. Well, hire me. I will teach you how to do this in a way that's actually reproducible and gets real results. It's really not rocket science. It's just not common knowledge.
Can you kind of briefly go into this idea of a framework? Because some people might not really understand what you're talking about with that.
Yeah. So let's start with, if you don't have a framework, every day you wake up and you're like, I have an infinite number of things I could post about. Right. And we don't do well with large, like millions of options, right? Our human brain doesn't. So a framework is going to put guardrails on your content, right? Because also that not having a framework leads to lack of consistency in posting, which people don't like, and it's not going to drive results, right? It's like the person who shows up and every time you meet with them, they're like in a different mood and mindset. And they're all over the place. They're erratic. You don't trust people who are erratic. It's just like subconscious. We also don't trust social media that's erratic, right? When you start to see people who are posting like one type of content and like one type of messaging and voice, and then like another, and then another and another. And it's like, what is this? This is all over the place. I can't even put my finger on who is this person and what are they? And like, I don't get it. But the more you can be like, in under a minute, you can put your finger on exactly what this company is and be like, yeah, the better. And that's really what we're trying to do, is like capture attention quickly and go, because the only reason anybody follows anybody today is because of FOMO. And then like you got to go like, okay, this is such it's just like your elevator pitch, like just like any sales process. Like if you have 30 seconds to talk to somebody at a business networking event, you better be able to like pitch your company well, right? Or you're going to watch their attention like across the room and think about something else. It's the same with social media. You have to be able to just like bang, bang, bang. Here's what I am. Here's what I stand for. So the framework is what puts the guardrails on all of these things. Invariably, all great businesses, like just business in general, have competitive advantage is derived from trade-offs, right? Trade-offs are the secret to all business. If you're all things to all people, you'll never make any money. But when you start to make trade-offs and serve certain people better than other people, that's where great businesses are built. And understanding Michael Porter, I talk about it a lot. It's the best business book I've ever read. I highly recommend it. It's not an easy thing to read, and it's taken me many times to read it. But as you understand where competitive advantage comes in the business model, the marketing is then just like beating the drum of your business model. And so oftentimes this is through marketing is where we start to like find out people don't have a great business model. Like anyone who needs a paint job. Well, that's not, I'll tell you, I doubt that's going to be a very profitable painting company if your client is anyone who needs a paint job. And so figuring out who are you talking to, what are you saying, and why? And then how will you go about doing that? And doing thought experiments. And like in the beginning, you're going to refer back to your framework quite a bit. And it's going to like guide your thinking. It's going to guide your posting. But eventually the framework becomes second nature. And you're like living your life. I'm going to job sites and I'm like, oh, that thing I just saw happening fits in my framework as one of the things that we want to talk about. Oh, I'm going to make a post about that. But if one day we post about our dog or our favorite football team, and then the next day we're posting about a project, and then the next day we're posting about like roofing, it's like, what is this? Yeah. Like we have to have clear messaging, and without a clear framework of what am I going to say, it's like, it depends on what mood I'm in. And man, watch how many social medias are going to be like, wow, you can just tell that this guy was in the mood to post about this today. And yet he's in the mood to post about this now. And he's just like, it's like based off of their mood.
Stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel like. Yeah. So this goes so deep to this framework because I mean, you're talking about a company's really fundamental mission, their values, who they serve, right? That's one piece of it. Because if you try to be all things to all people, then you're basically nothing to anybody. But then okay, so you serve super high clientele, right? You're very focused on the quality of the craft. Someone else might, be more middle of the road and they're focused on efficiency and customer communication. That's really what they're focused on, whatever. But when you have that dialed in, which a lot of people don't, so a lot of people listening, if you ask yourself who you're serving and it's anyone who needs a paint job, you already have a problem. But once you have that dialed in, then you have to choose how you're going to portray yourself and what it's your ego, but almost your alter ego. What is your public persona? What is your public persona? Does it involve your dog or does it not? Do you do any like personal stuff or do you not? Right? Because you're saying you don't want to, one day you want to take a picture of your dog or a picture of this or that. And then the next day you want to, I mean, God forbid, this would be a disaster, but go rant about something, like
happens all the time.
Example, you don't want to do that.
Happens all the time. Or
yeah. Unless that's your brand, unless it's your brand, right? Yeah,
unless that's your brand. But or the thing I see the worst, I'll tell you, I have a pet peeve. When people show their injuries, when painters show their injuries on social media, I unfollow instantly. Man,
I want to know the guy might fall off the ladder at my house. Then I want to hire him. Test my
I don't need to see your bloody thumb ever. I didn't sign up for this. And the second you show me your bloody thumb, I'm unfollowing. It's just like understanding why are people following you. And honestly, I see a lot of people on social media who are doing it for themselves. They are posting because it's what they want to do. And it feels good to post about the shit that they like. Cool. But if that means when you came to me and we consulted and you were like, my metric is I want to feel good.
You feel good.
All right. Well, you don't need me. Post whatever you want every single minute. That's cool. Right.
Yeah.
But like our marketing is not about what makes us feel good. It's about what gets the results that we're after. And so,
what do you think about that? Because this is something that comes up, this personal versus professional. And sometimes people have been posting stuff about their company, especially earlier on through their personal account. They say, well, do I need a professional account? Or sometimes they like to share personal stuff in their professional. How do you view that?
It's 100% selfish, foolish, and not the way to go, right? It feels good. You need a business account and treat it like a business. And if you are posting political, confrontational in any way, types of stuff, I just, how is that helping drive sales? It's just, when I show up to a client's house, I am whatever political leaning that they are. I don't
Like
say it's not like I lie.
Yeah.
But like, oh yeah, totally. Oh, definitely. You mirror people in the sales process. Whatever, like, why would I write off half of the country one way or another? That's doesn't seem like a great business model.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think that people need to take it seriously. This is a very, very lucrative and very powerful tool. It's a megaphone. Be careful. What are you putting on your megaphone?
Yeah.
Right. And
So
I think the best social media people are apolitical, non-confrontational.
Yeah.
Same with the best businesses, except for very few businesses who really can make a living by serving one group, one political group. Okay.
Sure.
But I mean, it'd be a hard argument to make that a painting business is better off alienating half the population.
Yeah, because you're unlikely to have the other half hire you just because of your political leaning.
Exactly. It's not going to drive much. Like Black Rifle Coffee, I get it, right? That worked out really well for them.
Yeah.
I think that's an example of like the opposite, where like they kind of took a lens. I don't know a lot about them, but like they kind of took like a side, and we're like, especially it was an untapped market. Like Starbucks is pretty leaning one side. Black Rifle Coffee was like, we're gonna go to the other side. There's a vacuum, and they crushed it.
Yeah.
Like there's not a painting company who's dominating your market because they have one political leaning or another. So like it's not. I think it's just crazy. I think it's all self-serving to feel good. And if that's why you're creating social media content, great, moving on. But why are we doing it? It has to be the first question.
Sure. So you are serving this ultra high-end clientele, which some people would say maybe lends itself especially well to social media organic content. I know Juan Vasquez, Jose Hernandez, Illusions Painting, they serve very high-end clientele. They also have done well with social media organic. Do you think that it is more difficult to do it if you are, let's say, doing kind of more middle of the road? Like you get in, you provide affordable quality paint projects and you move?
No, it's no, that's a big myth that I think people just now, is it going to be more difficult? No. So in every way that is complete head trash, and there's no evidence, like literally there's no evidence that that's the case. Because honestly, the largest following for paint contractors in the country are middle of the road paint companies. And I challenge anyone to look at the companies. I think it's like, I don't know the name because I don't consume much content, but it starts with a P. It might be Pereira or Peralta. There's a painter who's got a couple hundred, maybe 300,000 followers. I don't think the guy would say, like, they're not doing super high end work. There's a guy in, is it Thomas? Maybe there's a guy in Connecticut just banging out exteriors, like just banging them out. Rough scrape, spot prime, banging them out. Guy's got a massive following. It's not about that. That is some head trash shit. But we're not talking. Like for most people listening, dude, stop. Like you do not need tens of thousands of followers to do millions in revenue. You just don't. Right. But so if I'm like, let's take, I'll pick on Paris Painting because I haven't followed them on Instagram, but like they're a massive company and their Instagram, I would be so shocked if he told me that their Instagram is driving much revenue. But I've not looked at their social media lately, and I've not talked to Jason about this, but I love Jason. He's one of my favorite people, and I feel like I can pick on him a little bit this way because I would guess their average job size is probably $5,000 or $6,000. They're banging out exteriors. Their competitive advantage has nothing to do with like the quality of the painting or the aesthetics of the painting. I'm guessing, again, I'm not going to speak for him, but like, I doubt that that's what they're hanging their hat on. But man, are they going to be fast turnaround? They're going to have an amazing like customer service experience. They're going to have quality control. They're going to have a bunch of business structures in place that are wild. Like, God, to do the number of paint jobs they do, they just have their shit dialed in. Well, that's why people are buying from them. So their social media content should just be all stuff that highlights that, right? That is going to drive revenue. But man, that's boring content to the average person. So you might only have 1,500 followers, but those 1,500 followers might be all your potential clients in your market. Because who in Texas is going to follow Paris Painting that's talking about their sales process or their back end or Wology or all the things that they do that are really special, that are only special to the person who's going to hire them.
Yeah.
But man, that stuff would drive revenue. The referral, that strong referral we talked about, that would drive revenue.
Yeah, like showing why the project went well or why they were able to do it. What an interesting point, because I think so often painting company owners are thinking the only kinds of content they can put out is their work. The before, after, whatever they're doing, maybe video of the guys. But you're essentially saying, go show how the sausage is made. Hey, how are we able to keep your estimate? How are we able to get it done in a timely manner when we're completing all this project? Well, we actually have this CRM system that our team developed in-house called Wology, and do like a little reel showing that. Like, this is how we keep everything straight. This is how the sausage is made. There's no other painting company, at least that I'm aware of, that's going to put something out like that.
Have you ever seen, I feel like it's them. Have you ever seen or can imagine what a Google map with every pin of every job they've done would look like? I would be posting that every week if I was him.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? He's got like thousands of projects they do every year. If they pulled up a Google map,
video shorts you could create out of that.
Oh my God, it's wild,
like a
right?
Time lapse.
And talk about building trust. Talk about putting your on the table. Like, that's wild. That if you were to be able to pull up, hey, I work in this town. Here's the pin. The picture would just be a screenshot of a Google map with all the pins in an area. And they could do it. They would literally do it town by town by town. Hey, in this town, we did this many projects last year. How much trust does that build? This is the thing that, like, this is why I think why I consult and I don't do, because I can see things in that way of like, this is just basic marketing. Why do your client hire you? Well, educate them in that. And all of us, if we have a successful business, are doing something special. So yeah, I get a lot of people who are like, and sorry, Jason, if I've offended you in any way, you know I love you. And they run such an amazing business that, again, like I was saying, they're one of those businesses who probably don't feel like they need organic social media because they have this system and reproducible. They're probably one of their big problems is not leads. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but like production may become more, I don't know, but like, we don't need to talk about that. We could talk about any painting company. If you are working in a town and you have done X number of projects in that town, show that off. Right. And there's just so many creative ways to highlight this stuff. Like, I just came up with that off the top of my head. There's a millions of ways to highlight. And that's where it takes a little bit of creativity. But if you don't have guardrails, it's impossible to be creative, right? There's too many options. Your creativity has no guardrails. You need some guardrails. That's what the framework is.
There's a there's a term called cognitive dissonance for people listening. So when you present your company, let's say one way, and then your sales process is maybe different, and then the estimator shows up and is there, and you've confused people immediately lose trust. Any trust that you've built, because cognitive dissonance means you don't seem consistent. Like Zach, like you said, with the people showing up in different moods, we just immediately are kind of on edge, red flags up, like we don't trust this person. Cognitive dissonance with a company's image, brand, messaging, form of communication, don't trust them. So that's where the guardrails, if you're shooting from the hip all the time with whatever you feel that day, you're not building any kind of trust whatsoever because you look super erratic. And no one wants to hire a painting company that's erratic for what they're hoping will be a quality controlled project that goes according to plan. And if anything does happen, it gets rectified immediately. It's not a shoot from the hip. Well, this will be interesting. Hey, I'm going to sign you. You know, I want you to paint the house. I just kind of want to see what happens. Let's just see what happens. You don't want to, let's just see what happens kind of image of your company.
Yeah, I think every business has something that there's a reason that people buy from every business. And it's, if you don't understand why that is, you should do some work and ask all your best clients. But once you do, then you need to start beating the drum. And that's the next part is sort of like, we need to beat the drum of this message, right? We cannot say it one time. People have no attention span on social media. They're in their most basic, primitive animal states, just scrolling, right? Scrolling.
Lizard brain.
That everyone's so self-absorbed. Like, dude, no one's paying attention to you. So you have to say the same things many, many times. That's what I mean. Like, if I'm Paris, I'm putting that picture up of the pins every other week. Because you have new followers, you have people who now they're paying attention to you when before they weren't thinking about a paint job. And then they're like, oh, you know what? I kind of want to paint something. And then they start paying attention more to your content through a new lens. You never know. But like the problem with social media is like, we know we're so hyper aware of what we're putting out there. We know every word. I used to know every post I've made, every word I've said. And you're like, well, no, I've said that. Check it. Check the box. No,
they all already looked at that and read that like 2.5 months ago. It would be redundant to put it up again.
Exactly. No. That's
just definitely remember it.
It's the same challenge of I am an expert and I don't see my company through a layperson's perspective. It's like, oh, I'm such an expert. I said it one time and obviously everybody heard it. No, you got to beat the drum for months, years, whatever it is. It is different. It's not normal. It's not intuitive. I think a lot of what the great stuff I found on social media is not necessarily intuitive.
Well, let's talk about this timeline. So for people who are just getting started out, we all want instant gratification, right? It's big in the culture. I think a lot of reasons entrepreneurs, businesses fail is because they quit too early. Like you said, stay in the game long enough and you'll be amazed. But how long should somebody expect it to take? Let's just say from ground zero till they start actually getting a return on this investment of time.
I would tell everybody to commit to a year of doing it, 6 months. Within I would say a few months, you're probably going to get a little bit of positive feedback. If you're doing anything right and you're like iterating, you're not just like doing it like one way forever. And like, I think way too many people go for a month or two of doing this, don't get results and stop.
Yeah. I think a year is generally for most things, the timeline. I remember, I think it was like 2 years ago. I think I watched a video. It was Gary Vaynerchuk also. And I think it was about cold calling or something. And some lady had basically said, it's not working, it doesn't work. And he asked, how long have you been doing it? And it was not, I mean, it was a respectable timeline. It was 3 months. So she said 3 months. He then said, I can't say it, but it's FUCKU. And I was like, well, that seems aggressive. But he said, until you've been doing something for at least a year, I don't want to hear about it. So that was interesting. People just think it's going to happen way quicker than it's typically going to happen.
Especially today. He coined, I don't know that he coined it, but I heard it from him. We are in an attention economy, right? Your attention, a human's attention is the most valuable thing that they have. That's what all of our data, all social media is billion-dollar companies because they're able to capture our attention and then sell it. Like, it's all about attention. And if you don't keep doing things and iterating and like, first of all, like I said, it starts with faith. You have to believe you can do this. If you don't believe it's the 4-minute mile, if you don't believe it's possible, yeah, you'll never freaking run it. No kidding, it didn't work. You didn't actually believe it. I think I see a lot of people who like go through the motions of doing social media, or I know I'm supposed to. I've been to conferences, everybody says it. I know I'm supposed to, so I kind of went through it and it didn't work. Yeah, man, I think, of course, it's not going to work. You didn't think it could. I guarantee anybody, there's no one out there that this wouldn't work for. It's basic business. And saying, here's what it is to hire me. I don't care who it is. What's your metric? I guarantee you I come up with 10 reasons why your head trash is head trash. And I challenge anybody, let's go. Send me a message. We'll go at it. But there's just not, I've yet to come across somewhere where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't think social media is going to work for you. But man, do people have a million reasons why it won't. And like right there, it's
everyone's situation is different, right? Everyone's their own unique little snowflake, pebble, whatever. And there's a reason why it might work for everyone else, but not for them. You
don't know, man. You don't know. My market this, Slavic will tell you, everyone's got that. My market. Or my this or my this. No. This is universal. I mean, there's cleaning companies. There's, you name it. There's a company that's thriving on social media doing it. I'm working with a hard money lender. Like, the guy loans money to people. Like, no one in his world believes this shit's going to work. And watch, it's working. Like, social media is a megaphone for marketing. And all you got to do is go, what do I want out of this? And now we can reverse engineer a way to get those results. I just don't, it's just that simple. It's the most powerful tool. I go to a networking event. I'm going to meet maybe 15 people. I'm going to have real conversations with 3. And it's going to take me how many hours? I used to go to BNI, and it was like, how much time am I spending? And who am I? If I spent that amount of time on social media, you know how many people I could talk to? It's exponential. But it's different. It's uncomfortable. It's a lot of screaming into a void. It's a lot of failure. You're not going to be good at it right away. Right. And I think that's the hard part for people, is they start and then they stop because they don't give it 100%. They don't hire me or someone like me that understands and has proof of this working. I think a lot of times people hire a marketing company to do this, and they're like, the metric is like, did you post 3 times a week for me? I could go right now on social media and tell you every single company that's paying for their social media. It's so obvious, because I did this. I ran a company doing this. How do I get a person working for a social media marketing company, probably fresh out of college, how do I get them to write a detailed caption with the voice of my company? It's hard enough for me to do it. Yes. Right? It's uncomfortable for me. That's a muscle I have to gain. And I know I eat, sleep, and breathe my company. Okay, so now I'm going to have a simple 1 or 2 meetings with a marketing company. I'm going to tell them, here's what my company stands for. And they're going to like all of a sudden be able to just like, that's why I say $10,000 minimum. Like, on a lot of that time is going to be the marketer spending time with the company, understanding the ethos, understanding their model, their competitive advantages, their voice. Like, you got to really, like, Vaynerchuk's done it. Like, VaynerMedia does great social media for businesses. You know how much he charges? I think $50,000 a month is the minimum, because they have to go and like dive in. A marketer an organic marketer has to dive into your company, deeply understand it, and then be able to portray it in a clear way. It's time consuming. That's why I realized the way is like coaching, or I can like very quickly go, hey, here's the things. You already know who you are. I like the time consuming part is like, here, let's build a framework over the course of 8 hours. And you have a framework now. Go work on your framework for 3 months, and then we'll iterate. And I think it's a great, like, it's an investment, right? It's an investment in the long game. you can't, this is not, you know, pay-per-click, Google ads, all that stuff is, there's amazing businesses, proof right here. Like there's great businesses built around that. I don't know that world. That's not my world. And there's people that do that great, and that's fast, right? This is a very different thing.
Yeah, a lot of ways to skin the cat, man.
And great businesses should have multiple revenue streams, multiple marketing things. Like, you know, you can't rely on one thing.
Yeah, especially with the way that tech companies change their algorithms and stuff. You cannot be a one-trick pony.
100%. But I think the core of all of this is universal. It's like, have a great business that serves people uniquely, and then let everybody know about that.
Yeah, the social media organic is a free platform, and it's an excellent platform for getting your messaging out there. But if you don't know your target audience, and if you don't know the messaging that you want to convey to your target audience, then it's not going to work.
Yeah. Every contractor that's been on a TV show or that's had their own TV show, massive demand increase, right? The holy grail, it would be to be the painter for this old house. I would love to be the painter for this old house. The guy in my backyard that is. He's killing it. Because he's this old house's painter. And people get to watch him and all the trust he's built. Well, you can do it. You can make your own this old house every single day through social media.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, Zach, this has been amazing, man. ZK's words of wisdom. I think this is this is about the fastest. You know, you and I lined up these episodes almost back to back. It's about the fastest that I think we've ever run through a series. Yours was a bit more varied too. So we covered a lot of different stuff in your 3 episodes. But as we wrap up ZK's words of wisdom, is there anything else you want to add to the tail end of this series here?
I mean, I think it's like summing up what we've said. I think I had to learn the hard way that it's slow, consistent effort over time. Sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Most of my success has come from staying alive. So like a lot of this stuff we're talking about is like best practice stuff. And I think I talk about a lot of stuff like best practice. Like you have to stay alive and you have to eat in the meantime. And I don't ever want that to go without being said. I think that I assume all that stuff, and oftentimes I don't say it. There's a lot of stuff that I've done that I don't post on social media because especially in the early stages, it wasn't driving where I wanted to be, but it kept food on my table. Right. So like, don't let social media get in the way of you making a living. That's the other thing. Like people come to my school all the time and they're like, they see my stuff on social media and they're trying to meet those standards. We have much larger budgets to do a door than most people are going to have. And like, also like, I'm not showing you the imperfections on a door. Like I know how to take a good photo. I show my clients, you know, samples that, and like, it's not gonna be perfect, but like social media isn't real. Even though my greatest successes have come from being honest, social media is not real. And like, it's a tool and nothing else. And so if you're like a small guy out there and you're comparing yourself to guys like me on social media, stop. Like I try every day to compare myself to me. And hey, am I trending upwards? I fail all the time. I'm constantly worried I'm not going to stay in business. I'm a piece of shit every other day. You know, it's the roller coaster of running a business and probably living life. But like, don't quit. Trend upwards. You know, ask for help. I think I've done a good job of learning what I'm good at and coming to terms with what I'm bad at. Like being able to see honestly, like it's okay to say I'm not good or I don't know. I'd say we're a company of I don't know. I want my people to say I don't know unless they actually really know. Hey man, no worries. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be perfect. Social media has this way of making people think or like it's fake in some ways. Because it's most of the time. Now, do I post my mistakes? Yes. But like for the most part, I'm not going to show you everything that doesn't go well.
Yeah.
So trend upwards, don't be afraid to fail a lot. You are who you surround yourself with. Like, I have constantly ratcheted up my friend group who I spend time with. I read a lot of books. I'm constantly trying to get better. And like, I'm just a dude. I've found a little bit of success, and I'm trying every day to get better. But just don't give up, keep working, and like, send me a DM if you have questions.
Love it, Zach. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for sharing all this, brother. And I'm sure people are going to be following up with you.
Thanks, Brandon.
If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.